afternoon, everyone, and thank you for gathering with us today. December 6th is the National Day of Remembrance and Action on Violence Against Women in Canada. 2021 marks the 32nd anniversary of the massacre. I would like to acknowledge that we are in the territory of the Anishinaabe peoples of northwestern Ontario. We work and live on the lands of Fort William First Nation, who are signatory to the Robinson Superior Treaty of 1850. We also recognize the presence of the Métis and Inuit peoples in the area. As part of the colonial history of Canada, non-Indigenous peoples have derived benefit from what the Royal Commission on Truth and Reconciliation defines as the cultural genocide of Indigenous peoples in this country. We embrace our role and responsibilities in the national reconciliation process and acknowledge that we are accountable for this tragic history. We at Confederation College pledge to address injustices against Indigenous peoples and to honor our relationships with Indigenous peoples in our community. I'd like to welcome Elder Wanda Baxter, who will come up and say a prayer and do some smudging and say a few words. So whenever you're ready, Wanda.
Hello, bonjour. My name is Wanda Baxter, and my native name is Chibinesikwe, which means Big Thunderbird Woman. And I belong to the Cannibal clan, and I also belong to the third degree David. And I'm honored to be able to say a prayer. When I usually pray, I pray in the four directions: the east, the south, the north, in my language, because that's the only way I can pray. So with that, you can have your own prayers. Think about the women that you may have known that that have died due to the violence. So, and the smudging brings out, takes away the negative feelings that we have. So, with that, I will begin the prayer. I was given tobacco, and tobacco is a connection to the Creator. So with that, I'll take it. Aham sewe minamanto uma kaya weti wabano weti binesiwak sewe habis dagoang we uma winter sidamang we nogom we gakipe sewe pewak gakipe isagini watch. When you get any mercy, when you know that is my way, mission go is your way inside and watch well. Maybe you got 90 watch day well. Mr. Go away, everything is our own. Show us get over. You get away, fetch me to go when you match, we can all go on. When it's about to die, go on. We got any touching to watch them. Again, you have to know, as you are, is when that was when it's about to die, go on, when open. Again, you went no, as you are, we siyempre ito kagawang we station naman kung gano'n we manjiji we but may payod in shungat sa giniwat we ito si mawat sumay andan payo we panagat kinigiwe wat ikaw mga kininan we anyway bisindagawa we anyway musayang making Ege kami zaman itu Krishna mga bisindagawa ng mga we ito kagawa we sinsadot naman even anyway pero gusto gawin ichigo pacha gawin sago Israel kagawin naman ganyan Ishni gawin yung gawin tendency. Mr. Goen, we go get it done. We go. So, the four directions, we give thanks from all the four directions of the wind. And also, I prayed. Sometimes we don't know or understand why these things happen to women. And, why some people would end their lives for whatever reason. It's pretty hard to try and understand, but to really come to that understanding. As Native people, we do our ceremonies, and we'll pray and ask the spirits why these things happen to people. And they will know. They will tell us. Because that's why we always pray for guidance from the spirits. And the spirits guide us in the things that we don't understand or the things we want to know. I've been to many ceremonies, and I got to understand some of the reasons why our women, all women, when somebody take their lives for whatever reason. We do live in a cruel world today. Seems a lot of things are happening to the young children. You hear a lot of what's happening in the news. So it's I've known violence in my own life, with my own relatives and families. So when it comes to violence against women, I can pretty well relate to that. So when we talk about the violence, I think also it has to do with love. In my own family, when my daughter got beat up by her husband, then they're not together anymore. And she would say, well, I love him. Yeah, right, love doesn't do that to you. You don't get knocked around or have black eyes. So when that time she wanted to go back to him, of course, I tried to stop her, but that's what she said. Love has nothing to do with violence. Violence is very cruel, very wicked. As women, we can't really fight back. We try. Sometimes, the men can be overpowering. I think maybe it's because of control, maybe. So, and then with my daughter, it comes with children. So, she would say, well, I want to go back because of their dad. But anyway, she eventually did leave him. And I always said, I'm glad the day she left, the day she walked out, the day she became strong to leave the violence. But all those times with my own children, I never interfered with their relationships. So, but I knew my daughter would become strong. And she did. And she stood up to him. Not with violence, but with words and going to court. And so I always said, I'm glad the day she walked out. But now, she's a very strong lady. And then, she got a real good job with the mining in Geraldton. And, she got her family together. And I really admired her for that. So, like I said, I don't want to be long-winded. So with that, I'll say me thanks again for having me.
This day was established in 1991 by the Parliament of Canada, and it marks the anniversary of the tragic murders in 1989 of 14 young women at the Polytechnique de Montreal. They died because they were women. A 25-year-old man armed with a rifle and a hunting knife shot 28 people, killing 14 women before dying by suicide. He began his attack by entering a classroom at the university where he separated the male and female students. After claiming that he was fighting feminism and calling the women a bunch of feminists, he shot all 9 women in the room, killing 6. He then moved through corridors, the cafeteria, and another classroom, specifically targeting women to shoot. Overall, he killed 14 women and injured 10 other women and 4 men in just under 20 minutes before turning the gun on himself.
As well as commemorating the 14 young women whose lives ended in an act of gender-based violence that shocked the nation, December 6th represents an opportunity for Canadians to reflect on the phenomenon of violence against women in our society. It is also an opportunity to consider the women and girls for whom violence is a daily reality, and to remember those who have died as a result of gender-based violence. And finally, it is a day on which communities can consider concrete actions to eliminate all forms of violence against women and girls. This morning we take time to remember young women we never knew, but who had hopes and dreams just like us. We invite you, if you are comfortable, to light a candle for them and think of them on this cold December morning.
Annie Turcotte was in her first year and lived with her brother in a small apartment near the university. She was described as gentle and athletic, a diver and a swimmer. She went into engineering so she could one day help improve the environment. Maud Habernick, a second-year student in engineering and a graduate in environmental design from the University of Quebec, Montreal. Michelle Richard was in second-year engineering. She was presenting a paper with her friend Maud Habernick when she was killed. Helene Colgan was in her final year of mechanical engineering and planned to do a master's degree. She had 3 job offers and was leaning toward accepting one from a Toronto area company. Natalie Croteau, was a graduating mechanical engineer. She planned to take a 2-week vacation in Cancun, Mexico with her friend Helene Colgan at the end of the month.
Sonia Pelche, the head of her class at the Pride of St. Curet, Quebec, forgot birthplace in Gaspé Peninsula. She was killed the day before she was to graduate with a degree in mechanical engineering and had a job interview lined up for the following week. Anne-Marie Edward loved outdoor sports like skiing, diving, riding, and was always surrounded by friends. She studied chemical engineering. Barbara Degautme was a graduate at the end of the year. A teaching assistant with her father Pierre, a mechanical engineering professor with the city of another French language engineering school at the University of Quebec in Montreal. Barbara Klusnik-Wyatek was a first-year nursing student. She arrived in Montreal from Poland with her husband in 1987. Genevieve Burgon was a second-year scholarship student in mechanical engineering. She played the clarinet and sang in a professional choir. In her spare time, she played basketball and swam.
Maurice Leclerc was in 4th year metallurgy and had a year to go before graduation. Maurice was one of the top students in the school. She acted in plays in junior college. She was the first victim whose name was known when she was found by her father, Montreal Police Lieutenant Pierre Leclerc. Anne-Marie LeMay was in 4th year mechanical engineering. Annie St. Arnaud, a mechanical engineering student, and her friends considered her a fine student. She was killed as she sat listening to a presentation in her last class before graduation. She had a job interview with Alcan Aluminum scheduled for the following day. She had talked about eventually getting married to the man who had been her boyfriend since she was a teenager. Maurice Lagagne was the only non-student killed. She worked in the budget department of the engineering school and had recently married. This morning we gather to take a quiet moment of reflection and to consider those in our lives for whom violence is a reality, and to consider what steps we can take to end that violence and prevent it from occurring again. We invite you to light a candle and to share the name or story of someone who comes to mind this morning, then share in a quiet time to reflect.
Feel free to sit and share stories if you want.